Chapter 1. Seoul Falls in Handong. At Handong University of Political Science and Law, at 4 in the afternoon, a strong man was carrying a bundle of luggage packed in a urea bag. In his hand, he held a net bag containing an enamel basin and some toiletries. As he walked, the clanking sound of his belongings echoed, and the man was a towering figure, standing at nearly 1.9 meters tall, with a dark complexion from sun exposure. Suddenly, the strong man swayed a couple of times and hurriedly leaned against a nearby tree trunk, sitting down on the ground. His eyes became vacant, and if it weren't for his rising and falling chest proving he was still alive, passing students might have checked on his condition. After about 20 minutes, a loud clatter rang out beside the strong man. It turned out to be the basin he had dropped, kicked away by a boy and a girl passing by. The girl, who had an average appearance but was dressed nicely, was accompanied by a handsome boy who wore a flattering expression. The boy and girl were freshmen at Handong University of Political Science and Law. The girl's name was Zhong Xiaoi, and the boy's name was Ho Liangping. They were classmates. Currently, Ho Liangping was pursuing Zhong Xiaoi, but she was proud and had a bad temper. However, Ho Liangping was determined to win her over, putting in a lot of effort. The reason for his persistence was known only to him, and he wouldn't share the details with anyone. If pressed, he would simply say, "Everyone has their preferences." As the sound echoed, the strong man's eyes regained their clarity. He looked up at the two in front of him and spoke, "Pick it up and apologize." Seeing the strong man's unfriendly tone, Ho Liangping stepped forward to protect Zhong Xiaoi, responding in a similar tone. "What are you shouting about? This is a public road. Who told you to leave your things lying around? Do you think this road is your home?" The strong man, who had been sitting on the ground, suddenly stood up with a powerful movement, towering even more over Ho Liangping by nearly 10 centimeters. The fierce aura he exuded made Ho Liangping, the pretty boy, instinctively take 2 steps back. His retreat led him to bump into Zhong Xiaoi, and in the next step he stepped on her foot, causing her to exclaim, "Ouch!" Realizing what had happened, Ho Liangping's face flushed with anger. After all, no boy wants to lose face in front of the girl he's pursuing. Just as he was thinking about how to regain his dignity, the strong man shouted again, "Pick up the basin and apologize." "It's you who littered. Why should we apologize to you? Someone like you, with no sense of public morality, should be the one apologizing to us," Ho Liangping retorted. At this, the strong man suddenly grinned, revealing a mouthful of white teeth that contrasted sharply with his dark face. He had lived for nearly 1,000 years, and there weren't many who dared to be arrogant in front of him. Those who did either ended up getting beaten to a pulp or didn't recognize their own mothers afterward. The strong man reached out and grabbed Ho Liangping by the neck, lifting him effortlessly with one arm. Just then, a woman in her 30s rushed forward. "Stop it. This is a school. You're just a social drifter. If you dare to act recklessly, I'll call the school security." The strong man glanced at the suddenly appearing woman, too lazy to waste time with these clueless individuals. He tossed Ho Liangping aside like a rag doll, sending him flying 5 or 6 meters away. Then he picked up the basin and hoisted his luggage, preparing to leave for his dormitory. However, no one expected that the woman who had just appeared would grab his arm. "You think you can just leave after hitting someone? It's not that simple. Come with me to the school security office to clarify the matter." The strong man looked at the slightly plump woman with disgust. "Before troubling someone, it's best to get the facts straight. They kicked my basin away, and I just asked them to pick it up and apologize. But that kid argued with me, refusing to apologize and instead blamed me for littering. This road is so wide, and my basin is so small. They didn't see it and blamed me instead. And by the way, I'm not some social drifter. I'm a senior at the university, just back to wait for my school assignment. And please let go of me. Haven't you heard that men and women should maintain a distance? Even if you're unsatisfied, someone with my upright values would never be interested in an old woman like you." Upon hearing the strong man's words, the woman instinctively raised her hand to slap him. However, the strong man was too tall and moved too quickly that he suppressed the urge to kick her and turned, using his luggage to sweep her off her feet. Then, he took long strides, ready to leave and no longer willing to engage with them. The woman who had been knocked down was quickly helped up by Zhong Xiaoi. As for Ho Liangping, whether out of shame or fear of the strong man's intimidation, he remained on the ground, pretending to be dead and mumbling to himself. The woman who was helped up now wore a face filled with anger and embarrassment. "You stop right there. I am Liang Lu, a counselor at the university. Don't think you can just walk away. I will find out your class and give you a punishment." As Liang Lu announced her identity, the strong man abruptly stopped, turned around, and looked at her. His gaze was fierce, like that of a tiger ready to pounce, making one feel he could tear apart his prey at any moment. The strong man glanced at the two women and, after a few seconds of hesitation, turned and walked away. At the same time, his rough voice boomed, Yang Kui, a senior. "If you want to find trouble with me, bring it on." This time, Yang Kui truly left without looking back, while Liang Lu struggled free from Zhong Zioi's grasp and hurriedly ran in the opposite direction. She wasn't rushing to take revenge on Yang Kui, but was rather concerned about the consequences of her previous actions, as she had recently undergone a miscarriage. Now, with her muscles relaxed, she felt a bit scared under Yang Kui's oppressive stare and wanted to leave quickly to avoid embarrassment in front of her students. She hurried back to her dormitory to deal with this awkward situation at AS for Zhong Zioi. She turned to help the still mumbling Ho Liangping up, saying coldly, "Ho Liangping, you really should exercise more." At this moment, aside from feeling ashamed and angry, Ho Liangping was also somewhat taken aback by Zhong Zioi's words. With his physique, even if he trained to death, he would never match up to that brute named Yang Kui. Chapter 2. Past Lives and Present Lives. Yang Kui hurried to his dormitory, but his face showed signs of deep thought. Had he been reborn? Had the space just played a 20-fold speed drama in his mind? The name given was quite fitting. It was all just a name now, because the benefits had long been divided cleanly by those corrupt officials. The space was truly ridiculous since it had brought him back to life. It could have at least found a place with abundant spiritual energy for him to cultivate for a few hundred years. With his talent for cultivation, he could surely restore his previous level of power. Why then, those bastards in the immortal realm, one and all, would face his wrath. Yang Kui was born from a small mother, and now he found himself in a place with incredibly thin spiritual energy that he wants to cultivate his way back, but that won't happen until the monkey year and horse month. And the rewards given by that bastard space are too tempting. It seems that to leave this world, he has no choice but to act according to the demands of the space. But why does this damn space insist on making him experience the political scene? Just thinking about it makes Yang Kui's head hurt. He is not good at handling interpersonal relationships. What he likes most is to solve problems with his fists. After all, playing mind games with people is not as straightforward and swift as using his fists. Especially since the space said he has low emotional intelligence. Isn't that just simplifying complex problems? The most disgusting thing is that woman who just dragged him along. It turns out she's the most repugnant character, Liang Lu. If it weren't for this woman and her desires, how could she have turned Chi Tongwei, a promising young man, into that wretched state? In the end, he met a fate of suicide by swallowing a gun. But whatever, let him die. Why didn't she take that guy with the surname Ho too? If you're not afraid of dying, why care about the aftermath? If it were Yang Kui, he would definitely think, let the flood come after my death. Thinking of this, Yang Kui suddenly realized that the guy he just tossed out might be that little white face named Ho Liangping. If he had known, he would have used a bit more force. As for the other woman, she was probably Zhong Xiaowai. She's another one of those who can't stand being in a position of privilege. She looks down on Chi Tongwei because of her good background. But could she achieve Chi Tongwei's accomplishments if their identities and environments were switched? Yang Kui, thinking about Chi Tongwei, who he had never met, suddenly remembered that the original body and Chi Tongwei were classmates in the same year. However, they were not in the same class, and they had interacted a few times before. Due to his family's difficulties, Chi Tongwei, who was the student council president, helped apply for school subsidies for Yang Kui a few times. At that time, Chi Tongwei was still a spirited young man, especially with a girlfriend named Chen Yang. He was living quite well. If only Chen Yang's stubborn old man could agree to their relationship, it would be even better. Yang Kui was recalling the plot that the space had shown him now. There was still nearly 20 years before the events in the plot occurred. But what does this have to do with him? Yang Kui? The space wants him to develop his emotional intelligence. But is it really necessary to interact with these people? Even if he has to enter politics, Handong is not too big, but not too small either. After all, there are 8 or 9 cities beneath him. Even if Yang Kui is assigned, he might not end up with them. Given Yang Kui's family situation, he has no money and no connections. How could he get into a good place? Even if Yang Kui were a celestial being now, This broken place is severely lacking in spiritual energy, making it impossible to use even the most basic techniques. Besides, there's only a week left before the school assigns graduates to their positions. Even if he had a pig's head in hand, he wouldn't find a temple to offer it to. So now he can only take it one day at a time and wait until he regains some strength to find a way. Yang Kui does not believe that with his abilities, he cannot make a name for himself in this mortal world. That being said, although the body chosen by the space is average in appearance, it has good physical qualities. Not only does it share the same name as him in his previous life, but even without the enhancement of celestial power, it would not be a problem for him to handle 3 to 5 big men alone. After all, Yang Kui was a martial immortal in his previous life that he is best at fighting with the martial arts memories from his last life. He could easily take on 10 or 8 opponents now, and the original body is smart enough and has good academic performance. Now he's just turned 18, which makes him 5 or 6 years younger than Chi Tongwei, who is in his 20s. As for why this happened, first, Yang Kui has a great talent for learning. Second, his family conditions are really poor, which is why he skipped grades to save on tuition. This kid spent 3 years in elementary school, and because of his outstanding academic performance, he was directly promoted to middle school. In middle school, he only studied for 1 year, completed 3 years of courses, and moved up to high school. This also has to do with the contributions of his elementary and middle school homeroom teachers. After all, they produced such an outstanding student. Both teachers also reaped rewards and fame. As for high school, the teachers, for the sake of caution, held Yang Kui back for a year, which is why he participated in the college entrance examination at ASA result. He was directly admitted to a fairly prestigious university in Handong province. As for the 4 years of college, Yang Kui actually completed the full 4 years. However, since his second year, he had basically not stayed in school, only returning for exams. Most of the time, he worked on construction sites, using his hard-earned wages to support his family. Yang Kui could have gone to a better university, but his family's circumstances did not allow it. He also chose Handong Political University to be closer to take care of his parents, which led to his high school homeroom teacher feeling quite regretful. Probably more because it cost him the opportunity to gain fame. But Yang Kui insisted on making this choice, and no matter how unwilling the teacher was, there was nothing they could do. After all, Yang Kui's family conditions were such that his father suffered a work injury while at his job, that a few years ago, the company went bankrupt, and he was laid off, only able to limp along the street, mending shoes for a living. As for Yang Kui's mother, she is just a housewife, usually relying on doing odd jobs to supplement the family income. Although both children at home are outstanding, it is really difficult for such a family to support 2 students. Yang Kui was lost in thought about the memories of the original body as he made his way back to his dorm at this moment. There were only 2 people in the dormitory, and with the help of the original body's memory, Yang Kui greeted them. The 2 responded. After all, for a student who had rarely been at school and was focused on studying, even if they shared a dorm, they had little connection. Yang Kui took his belongings out of the urea bag. Although the bedsheet cover had been washed to a pale color, overall it was still clean. Yang Kui tucked the money hidden in a mattress in his pocket, actually placing it directly into the space. This was the tuition and living expenses that the original body had saved up through hard work over the past few months for his sister. He hadn't even returned home for the new year for this little bit of money after the job assignments. He must find time to go home and take a look, and this money is the original body's obsession. Yang Kui felt that if he didn't return this money, he might not be able to fully master this body. Moreover, Yang Kui didn't want to use strong means. After all, the original body had lived a hard life. He would help fulfill this last wish and be a good person.